Hey everybody, welcome back to the K2N Online Paddle School. We're back here on YouTube with another episode of the K2N vlog. And before we get into the video, don't forget that we have a Black Friday sale going on between now and the 1st of December in 2024. Use coupon code BLACKFRIDAY at checkout and you'll get 25% off of your purchase, and that is also good for reoccurring purchases, right? So if you were getting billed monthly, it'll be 25% off until you cancel. So at long last, we get to talk about downwinding. I have been waiting for the wind to kick up here in Florida for like a month and a half, and it has finally occurred. Our downwinders here in Florida are typically wind driven from the weather changing. So we have a really strong north wind here in the early part of the winter, and then into the spring as it heats up again, it'll shift into a strong south wind. Downwinding, if you're not familiar, is what the boats that most of us use are designed for. So if you're looking at an outrigger canoe or a surf ski, the reason it's called a surf ski is to surf in these downwinding type environments. Downwinding is when the wind is blowing in a particular direction and you have these waves that are created from the wind, and the boats are able to slot in between these waves, and it's like going down a hill and you get these huge acceleration boosts as you are surfing on these little waves. Then connecting the dots between wave to wave allows you to string together incredibly fast speeds going in one direction. There are a lot of logistics that go into downwinding, and today we're going to talk about the culmination of skill that goes into managing these environments and the overall safety. And I want to preface, as we talk about safety, this is not going to be a 2-hour-long video that goes over every single conceivable idea that goes into downwind safety. I'm just going to give a brief overview of the things that come to my mind. So if I do forget anything, please leave in the comments, but please don't hold it against me for not listing something specific here in this video. So downwinding, the culmination of pretty much every skill that you can go through within paddle sports. The first one being balance. The environments that you're going to be paddling in are actual big water scenarios that are large enough to lift your 20-foot boat and shoot it over the surface of the water, right? So balance becomes challenged as you have environments that can literally throw your vessel around. The next skill is reading the water and understanding what you're looking at, how to use it to your advantage, and also lining up your downwind. The wind is going to blow in a particular direction and you're going to get out of the water at some point further down, and a lot of times it doesn't line up perfectly. So being able to read this water and make these situational awareness calls to go left or right to make sure that you're lining up your run properly. The next aspect to this is timing. Timing when you accelerate and timing when you stop paddling to surf and recover. These are very important aspects when it comes to the physical part of performing well in these conditions. The next one would be your ability to sprint in a real tangible way. Your ability to make a boat accelerate now pushes it into a wave to allow you to surf it. So if you have the ability to sprint at a high level, this opens up more opportunities to surf in different type of scenarios that other paddlers that can't move their boat efficiently have no access to. And stemming from that is your ability to recover. We're not looking to just sprint once and stop. It is a constant game of sprinting to catch a wave, relaxing and resting and recovering on a wave face as you're surfing, looking for the next one and being ready to sprint into the next one. Repeat sprinting is your ability to push the vessel speed up to where it needs to go to catch a swell. And then the repeat aspect is how well can you recover to do it again and again and again and again. The final skill that you put into this is your ability to paddle for long distance. Most downwind runs are going to be an hour or 2 hours in duration. And so your ability to sprint, recover, and continue this process for multiple miles means that you need a pretty good aerobic base as well as that anaerobic base. Again, putting together a lot of different skills and ideas to truly maximize the conditions that you're in. This is what makes downwinding so alluring from my point of view, being somebody that tries to paddle all kinds of different disciplines, all kinds of different distances, all kinds of different environments. Being in a downwinding scenario puts a little bit of every skill together to allow you to go as fast as possible. If you're only good at paddling in flat water, you will have a rude awakening as the swells start to come alive around you. If you are a very good sprinter, but you blow your engine really quick, it is a long, arduous paddle if you're not surfing. And if you can only paddle at one tempo for an infinite amount of time, your ability to sprint and catch waves is also going to be pretty diminished. Overall challenge that these environments bring are something that I always like to rise and try to answer the call on. That would be another allure for myself personally, right? Is there is a % chance when you go on a downwind run that you don't return. It is a dangerous environment that can overwhelm you at any moment. As you saw in the opening of this video, I get hit by a 4 or 5 foot wave that breaks a mile offshore and sweeps me 60 feet through the surface of the water. So being caught in between breaths and sucked underwater for 6 seconds, it feels like an eternity. And then when your head pops up, you're separated from the boat, and now you have a lot of decisions to make to get back to safety. Even for myself on these downwind runs, things could turn ugly instantaneously. That's what makes it so interesting to pursue, right? Is as Mother Nature comes alive, do I have the skill set to go out there and to ride the bucking bronco? We'll talk more about the downwind runs as we have the footage at the end of the video, and I'll have the commentary on surfing waves and looking at the technical aspects and bringing all those ideas together. But for now, we're going to pivot into the safety aspects of downwind runs. So the number one thing I want to point out is every single video that you ever see of me downwinding in any kind of environment, I will always have my life jacket on. I have been separated from my boat and I have had to swim a pretty long distance before, and the only reason I'm alive right now is thanks to these life jackets. So it cannot be understated how important it is to have some sort of flotation device with you. The next safety aspect is having a leash. Being tethered to the boat is incredibly important, right? If you are unable to paddle and are using your vessel as a life raft, when the helicopters come looking for you, that's the first thing that they're gonna see. If you are separated from your vessel, it is almost impossible to find a floating head in the ocean, but they'll always find the canoe or kayak. So having the leash helps keep you to the vessel, and it also gives you a 20-foot personal flotation device that you can lean on. So you have your life jacket, you have the vessel, so it extends your likelihood of survival tremendously. Paddling at least with a friend out on the water when you're downwinding is a prerequisite, right? If you go it alone, again, it just changes the percentage of disaster going up. So if you do run into some issue or get separated, the other person has the opportunity to activate US Coast Guard here in the United States and have somebody searching for you. If you're by yourself, it can be hours before somebody realizes that you're missing, and by then, disaster has already struck. In Florida, we don't have to worry about the cold water aspect quite as much, but preparing for the swim is very important, right? So when it is incredibly cold, having some sort of wetsuit layer or something that is going to keep you warm in the water. On a worldwide level, the main reason that people die out on the water is because of hypothermia from the cold water. Once you hit the water, you are on a time limit of life and death. Having a US Coast Guard radio is an excellent thing. I usually carry my cell phone. I'm still able to activate it and get cell service in the Tampa area when we're downwinding, so calling 911 or any emergency hotline, my phone still has access and I can still utilize the screen. There's all kinds of other things that you can go through, right? Having spare rudder lines, bungee cords if your rudder line does fail, having a spare rudder, bringing a screwdriver kit, like every little thing that you can imagine is a good precaution to have, right? But the big ones, again, life jacket, leash, having a friend, having an emergency plan, and having some sort of emergency contact device. And so it's a game of percentages, right? Like there is an inherent risk, and you offset some of this risk with your overall ability and comfort in the water, and you also offset it by how airtight is your safety plan. In the video in the beginning, I get swept out by a rogue wave, sucked out for 60 feet, staying calm, having a good remount, getting right back into the boat. These are all things that bring that percentage up much higher. Having the leash keeps me tethered to the vessel. Having the life jacket makes it easy to float, to not waste energy treading water and assess the situation. If my leash did break and I got separated from my phone, I have my life jacket. It's a half-mile swim back to land. I have my cell phone to hit 911 if I need it. There's a lot of things going on there that reduce the chance of disaster. And so with this video, downwinding, it's super fun, right? It is an adrenaline rush, and again, it is a showcase of skill and riding the bronco. Something that you are looking to learn and to pursue. It is most advisable advisable to go out with people that have done it before. Do it in a tandem vessel with somebody. Making these little steps into the environment go a long way in maximizing your understanding of it, growing your skills, and increasing that overall success rate. I have had the luxury of bringing dozens of people in OC2s, and we have surfed across Tampa Bay successfully, many of them their very first time in an OC2, and I'm steering it, setting the tempo, keeping them relaxed, showing them the water. We're gonna catch this wave, we're gonna let this one pass and catch the next one. I'm looking over there to catch this wave. There's so many little skills that go into being successful out there. And in a 2, if we were to flip the vessel over, I can flip it over, I can help them back in, I can climb back in. So having that experience allows me to kind of bolster it out to raise somebody else's skill level up so they're enjoying it and having a good time. So this week's footage is going over the downwinding scenarios. So the first one is we're going down the Gulf of Mexico, north to south, and I'm in a Vega Flex surf ski, which is 18.1 inches wide. The next day we have the similar north wind. There's a little bit more west in it, and it lines up for a Tampa Bay run. So in the Tampa Bay, it's like a gigantic lake. And so there's no ground swell, and so you only have wind swells, which simplifies the equation tremendously, right? Because you're only surfing waves that go in the direction that you want to, and there's nothing going on that's really messing you up. So we'll go over all the footage that I just explained. The downwind run in Tampa, we did it in the morning, and as the sun is coming up, we're going in the exact direction of that. So the sun is kind of in the footage most of the time, so I'll try to edit that out or darken it a little bit. And again, if there's any safety things that you would like to see commented here for other people to see, feel free to type that out and let me know. If there are any topics or subjects that you would like to see personally, feel free to reach out. It's winter time. We have a lot more time to really showcase and talk about any paddle discipline, any paddle craft, any kind of scenario that you'd like to see discussed. Thank you all so much for checking out the YouTube series here, and we will see you all next week for the next K2N paddle vlog video. All right, everybody, we're here in Dunedin, Florida. So the Gulf run that we usually do north to south or south to north is out of Hurricane Pass in Dunedin, and we usually end up in Indian Rocks Beach. This is me and my buddy Grant. Grant's from South Africa, so he's a super hardcore, elite level downwinder comparatively to most of us, myself included. He's very, very fast. So the swells as we're going out of Hurricane Pass progress slightly, right? So it was super flat water, and as we're going out, we're trying to line up the run. So we're going from east to west out into the ocean here, and these swells are breaking out pretty far in Hurricane Pass. It's very shallow in a lot of these spots, so these waves end up standing up. So these are 3 or 4 foot waves as we're trying to punch out here. I'm in the Vega Flex surf ski for these runs. And we start turning, and this is a good view of wind swell. And then a ground swell is that big one that just came by here, right? So it takes a lot of force and effort to get on a ground swell. And you're using the force of the little wind swells going in the opposite or in a different direction and trying to push those into those intersections of the ground swells. So this is a wind swell here. You can see you have that high water in front of you, and that tells you that you have high water behind you, meaning that you're ready to surf. So you just push the nose into it and you'll get those big speed accelerations. You can see the GPS respond with the speedometer as the surfing begins. The Surfski definitely is like the apex predator when it comes to downwinding. Downwinding is definitely a skill set of speed, allowing you to do more things, right? So having 2 blades, not having an AMA, allow you to push into a lot of situations that would be increasingly difficult in an outrigger canoe. The payoff for this though is the stability. So you don't have an AMA to lean on when the conditions get tricky, so you have to manage your own balance at all times. Bracing on both sides definitely helps with this idea. You can see whenever I stop paddling, my paddle is always dragging in the water, so you kind of create your own AMA in a sense on the left and the right. But yeah, so downwinding for a lot of people can be frustrating because of the inability to push into larger swells, especially when you have a ground swell. It can be literally impossible to push hard enough to get into these large swells, so they just come by and just kind of sweep your boat up and down. And like I said, it can be very frustrating if you're struggling to find the boat speed. Being in a tandem boat helps with this, but having the skill set in flat water to accelerate at a decent level allows you to push, just like in this scene here, right? I'm pushing really hard to catch into the swell, and then there's a huge reward for it. And the main reward that you're looking for when you're downwinding is resting. You're surfing, you don't have to paddle anymore. So you have this moment of reprieve. If you're not surfing, you are constantly paddling in a very tough environment, and it will just sap the energy out of you. So another big ground swell coming here. And you see the ground swell goes right to left, and if you surf too many ground swells, you're gonna end up on land. So you have to kind of pick and choose when you surf them, and you usually want to surf them and start steering it back to the right to bring you in the direction that we're looking for. Sometimes the runs line up perfect where you have the ground swells and it's going exactly where you want. And there's other times like today where the ground swells are pushing in the wrong direction. So as we're going through here, the swells start to build a little bit more, and you know, just dealing with the environment. The wind swell's getting bigger, the ground swell's getting bigger, but just timing and knowing when to push into the swells makes it very low energy. If you do it too late, it's impossible, or it takes way too much energy. Energy economy is really important in managing the fun factor. If you push too hard and you run out of energy, again, you don't have the horsepower to push into more swells. So picking and choosing and understanding the timing, it's a very important game to play in order to really maximize your speed and be efficient out there. So there's another pretty big ground swell. When I saw this footage, I was like, holy crap, I can't believe I went for that, because it's, you can see it's a super steep wave. I start to lean back, bracing. You can see the speed increases for a pretty long duration here. Pushing that speed into another ground swell coming through. So the speeds top out 12 miles an hour here, which is super fast. It feels like you're flying as you're going through. Ground swell came by and kind of interrupted it, right? If you're not surfing them and they just disrupt the flow of what you're doing as they come side to side. So the speeds go from 12 all the way down to 6, and then it's time to get back on a very small wind swell and then try to push that again into a ground swell just like this here. So it's a game of constantly moving back and forth and timing all of these motions. And boom! So this is my point of view of surfing, looking for the ground swells, and all of a sudden to my right side, I just get absolutely thrashed. And so the boat, the surf ski, gets swept out from under me. So I don't hoolie in a traditional sense where I fall over, but the entire board just sweeps out from under my feet like a skateboard getting kicked out. I make the remount, and I start paddling again. I thought I lost my camera. I didn't realize that it was around my neck until after paddling for a couple minutes, and I was jumping for joy. I didn't even have time fixing my leash. When you get wiped out like that, the assessment is that another wave is coming, so I was kind of frantically trying to get the hell out of there. So that was the Dunedin. This is the next day in Tampa. It is a much tamer run on the big lake that is the Tampa Bay. And I did successfully finish the Dunedin run. I just didn't want to gamble my camera and put it back on my head. I thought water was on it. So I just took my camera off, put it in my chest pocket, and went through the rest of the run. But some pretty good runs. It was pretty much the same the rest of the way. So this is me and Ray. Ray is a member of our club here. He started paddling a couple years ago. He did his first downwinder with me in an OC2 last year. And this is the same idea. We are paddling east to west to line up the runs. We're gonna go under that bridge to kind of line up and start the north to south fun part, but you gotta deal with this choppy water as you're going through. This is a good assessment of how the swells are gonna be. If it's throwing your boat around side to side, it means they're big enough to surf and throw your boat in the direction that you want. So in the outrigger canoe, I love mixing it up. In the Tampa Bay, the swells are smaller, so you don't need the Apex Predator boat with no AMA and 2 blades. You can have some fun with the extra stability and single blade timing to surf the swells. So like I said in the beginning, the sun is gonna be in our eyeballs a little bit as we're going through. I was blinded as we're surfing the entire time. And so these morning runs, I have to remember, are not excellent footage like an afternoon run can be. But yeah, it's the same idea. So there's no ground swells coming side to side. You only have these beautiful wind swells that are pushing in the direction that you want. And lining up the run is real important to make sure that you can surf, have fun, and finish in the location that you're supposed to. If the lines or the runs don't line up, you have to do a lot of side paddling in the chop. But yeah, all of it's just timing. They're much smaller swells. There's Ray in the front. In this run, I would pass him, stop, go upwind, let him pass me, and do some like big circles. Just out there, just having fun, capturing footage, making sure that he's safe, and you know, just enjoying the water. But yeah, this is the beginning of the first part of the run. We have to go under 2 bridges, and the section between the first 2 bridges is the smallest water. I think the water depth is lower. And even on that section, I was able to fly the AMA here for like 30 seconds or something. It's a pretty good little go. But they're just very nice, safe, learnable swells, right? If you paddle, you get a reward for surfing, but it's not overwhelming. It won't blow your boat up, and it won't, you know, put you in any major types of danger. And they're fun, right? Going fast is always a blast here. I mean, we're hitting 9, 10 miles an hour on these swells. So we're getting closer to the bridge. You can see it in the distance there. Timing is the key, right? You see the swells, you paddle, and then once you're surfing, stop paddling. Enjoy the wave, let Mother Nature do the work for you. A lot of paddlers paddle for too long, and they're not surfing as long as they could, they're not resting as long as they could, and they're not looking around as much as they could. You focus on what's in front of you, it diminishes your ability to look around and try to connect a wave into the next one. You're going 10 miles an hour now, but can you convert that into another wave and go 10 miles an hour for longer? A lot of people just run a wave until it ends, and they're not going as fast as they physically could. There's always peaks and valleys though. When you're between swells, right, you're not going to be going as fast, and minimizing the time that you're between those swells is the key. So here's Ray again coming up on him on the left side here. Once you come up on somebody, it's all about who catches the next wave first to pull ahead. And it looks like I caught the first one. And the bridges. So the bridges are the sketchiest part of Tampa Bay, right? Because the swells are gonna bounce off of all those pilings, and they are going to reflect back at you at 360 different degrees. There's construction going on the 275 bridge here. So there's all kinds of stuff in the water as well, equipment-wise. And so you can just see it's very hectic. There is still a wind swell that is going towards the bridge here, and your ability to see it allows you the ability to surf, but there's a lot of chaos going around the sides that will diminish your ability to surf. So right there I find the wind swell and I'm going 9 miles an hour, and you can see it's just chaos bumping around. But it's a good little exercise in seeing where the swell is at and just kind of trusting that you can still surf even in the sloppy conditions. The Gulf of Mexico is like that too, the Atlantic as well, right? There's a wind swell that you can surf, and the ground swell is going to disrupt that a lot. But if you keep your boat in proper position, you will continue flying even through these ground swells. So these are like very small, choppy, angry waves instead of big, gentle rollers going through. But you see, I mean, my boat speed drops all the way to 2 miles an hour there, right? So there's a lot of factors going on that'll slow you down. And then catching another swell here and getting under the bridge. I've never had issues under the bridge. I mean, it's super choppy and turbulent, but I've never like hoolied and had to deal with the pilings and stuff. But it's a major fear. If there's one place in the universe you don't want to fall, it is in here. You fall out, and even if you're tethered to your boat, if it goes 10 feet away, it might smash into those pilings. So this is on our way down to the Gandy Bridge as we're going through. Another flying the AMA session here. Yeah, definitely a blast. I've had a lot of good memories and a lot of fun out on Tampa Bay. The only bad memories have been ones that are where the wind doesn't blow as well as predicted, so it becomes kind of a flat water grind. But even then, it's, you know, you're still on the water, still getting some mileage in, and it's usually still, you know, downwindable. It's just not as fun as it could be. Wind predictions in Florida are always going to be up and down. I guess it's everywhere in the world, and usually have a 2 or 3 day window of seeing when the wind is going to be, and you don't really know until the day of, right? So you switch from looking at predictions to real-time weather data. The prediction for this area was only 5 miles an hour on 4 very reputable sites, right? Using Windy. Usually it's super consistent, but it was saying that this was 8 mile an hour winds, but the real-time wind data was showing 25, right? And so the wind dropped throughout the day, but the prediction had it too early. So if we had gone on that prediction, we wouldn't be out here surfing again 10 miles an hour here having a blast, because the wind is, you know, over 20, which is definitely a fun trip. So, you know, just kind of strategizing, knowing your area, and knowing which winds and which wind directions are key. Tampa Bay is awesome. Any wind direction, there is a start and exit point. It could be east to west, west to east, northeast, northwest, southwest, southeast, you name it, you can line up any kind of a run. So it's definitely opens a lot of opportunities for us to surf out in Tampa. So this is the last bridge. This is going under the Gandy Bridge. Once we go under this bridge, our exit location is to the left. We're about a quarter mile away, so the wind lined up excellent where you know, we get to finish here and then it's just a short paddle back to the vehicles. This one's pretty choppy. There's not construction equipment around, so it's definitely a lot less turbulent. But that's the end of the run. So thank you all for joining me as surfing down and going for a little swim in the Gulf of Mexico. If there's anything you'd like to see, if you like this downwind content, you want to see more of it, I have more footage and I plan on getting more footage, so hopefully those are some future episodes. If you're interested in coming down to Florida and paddling, I can't guarantee that it'll be windy enough for us to go downwinding, but if it is, I'll put you in a tandem with me and we can have a blast. Thank you all so much for the support on the channel and the website, and we'll see you all next week for next week's paddle vlog video.